Okay, so Diyos mayad na aga sa inyo gabos. Hari din di sa ibong ka makeda channel sa Banuan Caniverak o sa Isla ng Catanduanes. My presentation is titled Ermita Religiosity, an Authentic Expression of Faith in Virac Catanduanes. It is based on a study that I have completed in 2019 through a grant from the National Commission for Culture and the Arts. In doing the study, I made use of historical and ethnographic approaches. Anthropology being my discipline, so my methodological preference is ethnography. Next slide, please. So the focus of this presentation is on what I call ermita religiosity, by which I mean that set of Catholic religious observances centered on the ermita. So the ermita is the local term for the Catholic chapel located in basic community units of barangays and sitios. In the course of my presentation, I will be arguing two things, namely, first, that ermita religiosity is a form of popular religiosity, which means that it is the religious expression spawned by the ordinary folk as distinguished from that which is propagated by the formally instituted church. And secondly, that the ermita religiosity is a testament to the Katandunganon's resourcefulness, creativity, and abiding faith. Indeed, a matter of collective identity and pride. Next slide. Next slide, please. So I am using here a framework of analysis, which is in wide currency in the sociology of religion, wherein the main point is that the social configuration of a religious system almost always takes shape into two divides, namely an institutional sector and a popular sector. The popular sector consists of religious expressions spawned by the ordinary folk. It is devoted to address immediate exigencies of everyday life and undertaken in relative autonomy from the institutional mandate. On the other hand, the institutional sector consists of religious beliefs and practices prescribed and overseen by formally mandated hierarchy, concerned with quote-unquote pure doctrines and rituals. Please note that this is a polarized view of the religious landscape, and as such, it emphasizes the tension between the two. But however, they are always interconnected in essential ways. In fact, in most cases, the popular and the institutional sectors take vitality from each other. So it is more of an arrangement of modus vivendi, but it can always lead to intense conflict that can cause breakaways. So, halimbawa, the Christian tradition or Christianity is really previously the popular sector of the Jewish tradition and eventually broke away. Next slide, please. So the basic contention of my paper is that ermita religiosity is a form of popular religiosity. So ang gagawin ko po is to demonstrate the popular character of ermita religiosity, and I will do that in three ways. Firstly, on the historical factors. Secondly, on the social structural aspects or the social dynamics. And thirdly, on the cultural aspects or the beliefs, values, and practices involved. So next slide, please. So let me start with the historical aspect. So here we can see in the illustration the trajectory of the ermita in form. So the first moment is what in Birak we call the kinayubong. The kinayubong is a provisional altar, very very modest. Although sometimes they decorate it. It's a provisional altar intended for a few days of nominario. Um, what is involved here is just a small circle of devotees. Halimbawa, a neighborhood or an extended family would decide to put up a devotion to their patron saint. Halimbawa, Nuestra Señora de Salvacion, paborito ng mga taga-Catanduanes. Um, and then they would put up this altar called Kinayubong. But they will dismantle it after the event. However, in the long term, this group may decide to make the devotion regular. So what do? They build a cross. Yung tinatawag naming cross. The cross is like a shed or a roof over the altar, made up of light materials but intended to last longer because they are now intending to make the devotion regular. So typically also the group involved here is already larger. Like halimbawa in the case studies that I was able to document, merong isang area na may mga a few families that pioneered, okay, cultivating the area. But eventually some other families came and settled in so that the community becomes larger. So they have now a cross. Now, in the long run, the community expands, okay? So until it becomes like a sitio. And this time around, what do they do is to upgrade their cross to become a proper ermita, meaning they build it larger with better materials. Now, at this point, when the community is already a barangay or a sitio, at least, and then they have a proper ermita, the institutional church comes in, okay, and kind of appropriates it and bring it into the configuration of the parish. So, pinoformalize na ng parokya so that they organize the barangay or the sitio pastoral council. Meron ng formal organization and it becomes now a part of the parish network. We call it the Centro Católico. So this trajectory of how the ermita becomes is paborito no ng mga old-timers. They tell stories about how the ermitas came to be from a lowly Kinayubong. Okay, next slide, please. So here we see the three moments of the ermita's evolution from the Kinayubong to the Cruz to the ermita. And then here also we indicate that the institutional church comes into the picture such that the ermita now becomes an interface of the two sectors. So along the line of the theme of this conference, the ermita therefore becomes like the space of collaboration and yeah, interface. Next slide, please. In the course of my study, I was able to document some 85 ermitas that came in 3 generations, one after the other. The first generation are 19 ermitas. What's remarkable about them is that they're made of stone masonry in the Spanish colonial style. Malalaki at saka matitibay. Made of stone masonry. Now, the second generation are barangay chapels, this time not anymore of stone masonry, but of the modern reinforced concrete. And then finally, the last batch of ermitas that came along were those located in sitios or puroks, smaller. These are smaller chapels, but also of reinforced concrete. But then because it's part of the network of the parish, they have their own barangay or sitio or purok pastoral councils. Next slide, please. Um, Historically, okay, um, during the late Spanish period and into the early American period, we saw the proliferation of these 19 ermitas. Okay, located in the visitas of the parish. There were only 19 of them during the time. Now, post-World War, after the Second World War, in October 26, 1945, just immediately after the war, Catanduanes was able to gain independent provincehood from Albay. Now, it resulted to a massive reorganization of the province, such that in Virac, for example, many barangays were created. And so because there were now barangays, more barangays, they will have to build their own ermitas, proper ermitas. So yung kanila mga krus dati ay in-upgrade na nila. Kaya dumami na to bring forth the second generation. But this time around, hindi na po ginagamit yung stone masonry. Gumagamit na sila ng reinforced concrete. And then finally, in the immediate aftermath, not necessarily in the immediate aftermath of Vatican II, in August of 1974, Catanduanes became a separate diocese from the Diocese of Legazpi as its mother diocese. So this brought about a revitalization of the Catholic Church in Catanduanes, and it led to a massive, organizing of the lay according to the spirit of Vatican II, empowerment of the lay. So previously small sitios or puroks that had their own cruces were upgraded to become regular pastoral units of the parish. And so therefore, they built their own their own cruces to make it more presentable. But this time, they were smaller than the first two generation of ermitas. Next slide, please. So these are examples of first generation ermitas. So as you can see, they are quite massive. In fact, visitors in Virac would mistake them for parish churches. Next slide, please. So these are close-up views of the walls of the masonry. So dalawang klase po. Yung una, made of gasang. This is really, anong tawag dito? Gasang is corals. So gasang is mainly used along the coastal barangays of Virac. And then on the other hand, made of the ripay or limestone. So ito naman ang ginagamit ng mga barangay na landlocked, mounted sa mountains, no? So here are some examples of the walling. Next slide, please. So one remarkable thing about the old Spanish style stonemasonry ermitas, they have this elaborate retablos. So ngayon, ito po yung mga surviving examples of the retablos in barangay ermitas. Next slide, please. Here are two fine examples of the second generation ermitas made of reinforced concrete, built after the Second World War. And then, next slide, please. Finally, these are two examples of the purok or sitio ermitas, much smaller. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now let me go to the next aspect, the social structural aspects. So popular character of ermita religiosity is likewise evident in the social dynamics that brought forth and sustains the ermita. Firstly, the building of the ermita is carried out practically single-handed by the initiative, resourcefulness, and creativity of the ordinary folk through a system what we call in Virac atag. Atag is like bayanihan. Okay, parang yun ang term namin sa bayanihan, except that atag, this is not only for private use by households, like in carrying a house. This is carried out for purposes of the community, community projects tulad ng pagtayo ng ermita. Paborito itong kinukwento ng mga old-timers kung paano nila ginawa yung ermita nila, how everybody would pitch in their contribution by way of material things or by labor. So they would gather the corals from the sea. Siyempre ngayon hindi na pwede yun. And the ripay from the mountain sides. Now, so it's really a communal thing. Practically, they do it independently of the Paris mandate. So sa kanila talagang desisyon na gumawa at sa kanila lahat ang paggawa ng ermita. Now, religious observances centered around the devotion of a patron saint. This is the other thing. Ermita religiosity is basically based on novenario to patron saints. And it is carried out through indigenous structure, okay? Meron pong organization led by the Matanda and a team of 8 cabos. Bakit 8? Kasi yung nobenaryo, siyam. Pang-siyam na yung buong community, pero yung unang 8 ay mga kabo ang nagpapatakbo. Okay, next slide please. And finally, the nomenaryo praying itself, no? Together with the concomitant practices related to the novenario, like processions and so on, are organized and presided over by a lay specialist called the parapuon. So there is no involvement of clergy here. They can carry out their observances purely among themselves, among the lay people. So as such, eremita religiosity can well carry on without officially mandated personnel from the church, from the official church. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, now let me go to the cultural aspects of ermita religiosity and demonstrate its popular character. So, firstly, the devotion in the ermita, which is like maintained throughout the year, they have a whole calendar of activities, is basically through the praying of the novenario, which I have already mentioned, can be undertaken purely by lay people. The novenario, by the way, is, as we all know, is a package of Catholic devotional practices that anybody can do. So another point, the devotion is always aimed not in pursuit of transcendental spiritual goals, which is basically the concern of the institutional church, but it is more to address exigencies of everyday life. So kaya tipong malakas yung San Isidro sa amin kasi related with farming. And then salvación because it's related also with like fishing, where the folk face a lot of dangers and risks, and like San Roque for healing. So pang-araw-araw ng mga concerns ang ina-address po ng eremita religiosity. And finally, eremita religiosity is keen on expressive forms that appeal more to folk sensibilities. I guess we are familiar with a recurring theme in the study of Philippine religions, where we say that Catholicism, for example, was easily accepted by the people because there was a hospitable, pre-colonial set of beliefs quite compatible with Catholicism. Okay, next slide. Okay, as a way to conclude, let me reiterate, Ermita religiosity in both its material and intangible aspects is an authentic expression of popular faith among Katandunganons and is a testament to their initiative, resourcefulness, creativity, and abiding faith. While Ermita religiosity remains a popular form, it had become the Catholic Church's grassroots network that lends it continuity and vitality. So, iwan sa natabi, Diyos mabalos sa inyo.